What's going on, Panthers fans? We got to talk about the latest rumors surrounding your Carolina Panthers at the beginning of this offseason. As Cade Mays, the center for Carolina this year, is a impending free agent and one of the biggest names that Carolina has on their docket to potentially re-sign. We have the latest rumors on what he might command on the open market, plus Raiders defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. Are the Raiders hiring him as he gets his second interview for their head coaching position? We'll break that down in the back half of the show today, but I want to make sure you guys are subscribed first before we dive into all of that. We're in a race to 2,000 subs with a few other new channels that we've created here at Chat Sports, LA Chargers Now, and Arizona Cardinals Today. And we're in the lead right now here at Panthers Today, so shout out to all you guys for supporting in the early onset of this channel. But if you're new here and you want Panthers content for free on your YouTube page all the time, go down below and hit that subscribe button right now. This would be a bummer, Panthers fans. Cade Mays, could he be leaving in free agency here as he is an unrestricted free agent this offseason and may have a pretty substantial market when it comes to what he will be paid and how many teams might be interested in him in free agency. Remember, Cade Mays was on a one-year contract this season with Carolina, $3.4 million for the 2025 season. And if you guys remember, he was originally the backup. I mean, that's not starting center money in this league, just $3.5 million. So he was originally named the backup to Austin Corbett, but Corbett ended up getting hurt at the beginning of the season, which made Mays your starting center for every week on after week 2 as the starter. But then Corbett came back from injury, and they still kept Cade Mays at that center spot and moved Corbett to guard because Mays did such a great job. But the reason we're talking about him today is because I saw that SpotRack, the all-encompassing contract website that everybody likes to refer to, they had a free agent evaluation on Cade Mays here, and they're saying that he could be looking at a contract that's worth $12.3 million per season. That makes him one of the highest paid centers in all of football. So can the Panthers make up that type of money and re-sign him to a deal if that's what he's commanding? I'm not so sure, but they would be smart to, considering that Mays did not allow a sack in all of 2025. And we know how vital it is for Bryce Young to be in a clean pocket and working in structure, not having things muddy up there. Well, for a guy who he seemed to feel very comfortable with as the center, the guy who's snapping to the football this season, it may be wise for the Panthers to go out there and bring him back. And when you consider the grades that he got this season as well, specifically as a pass blocker, he was awesome. A top 15 center in all of football, the 13th ranked pass blocker, according to Pro Football Focus, out of 40 qualifying centers. Now, overall, he was ranked as the 24th out of 40 centers, and then the run blocking was not too great, 33rd out of 40 there. And if you guys didn't know, there's only 32 teams in the National Football League, so that's not the greatest number for Cade Mays there, but he keeps Bryce Young protected, and that's a pretty big priority if you ask me heading into this offseason for Dan Morgan. But teams will be interested in Cade Mays. I mean, you have a couple of different free agent centers, top-end guys going out there on the market this offseason, but Tyler Linderbaum, I mean, I'm assuming from the Baltimore Ravens, he's either going to stick around there or potentially follow his former head coach John Harbaugh to the New York Football Giants. Also, you have Connor McGovern of the Buffalo Bills, but with him being one of their marquee free agents this offseason, I would assume they want to bring him back as they've had one of the better offensive line units in all of the NFL. So this is going to be a difficult re-sign here. Cade Mays may be the number one center that actually hits the open market and fields a bunch of teams here. So the Panthers, they may have to pay up. But that could create some problems here. As we know, the Panthers left tackle Ike Ekwonu has a big-time leg injury here. So that creates a need at the tackle spot. And that's something that the Panthers are probably going to have to invest into this offseason as well. Plus, you have other free agents along the offensive line that are set to get paid this offseason. So there is so much revolving around this O-line and who's going to get paid between a center and the tackle spot. Who are the Panthers going to make that bigger investment into? Well, Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer had this to say about the Cade Mays situation and what he might be paying or what Carolina would be willing to pay him. He says if Mays wants a 3-year, $15 million or 4-year, $20 million contracts, that might be hard for the Panthers to pull off, especially with the needs they have elsewhere, particularly at left tackle, outside linebacker, and safety. Well, 3 years, $15 million, 4 years, $20 million. I'm doing the quick math here on the head calculator, and that's $5 million a season. SpotRack said they are going to get $12 million a season for Cade Mays in free agency. That's a lot less! That is a lot less than what the people who are looking at the free agent landscape this offseason are projecting for the Panthers starting center. So if they can't go out there and get a $5 million a year deal done for Cade Mays, what makes you think they're going to get a $12 million a year done for their starting center at this point? And think about this. they don't have like the most ties to Cade Mays. I'm sure Mays knows that himself. He was cut before the 2024 season. And then when he was brought in 2025, he was brought in to be the backup. And they didn't trust him to be the starter from week 3 onward, but they don't seem to be super married to him long term here. Now, you could also go back with your original plan at the start of the 2025 season. As we mentioned, there's a couple other free agents on the offensive line for Carolina, and they could end up going with the guy they had originally slated for that spot, Austin Corbett. Now, he may have to play some guard potentially too, but we'll see if Carolina wants to make a sizable investment at center, they bring Cade Mays back. If not, they can go out there and probably sign Austin Corbett for a little bit cheaper, given the injury history and whatnot with him, and then they could have him snap it for Bryce Young in 2026. With that being said, is this a need for you if you're a Carolina Panthers fan? Do the Panthers need to re-sign Cade Mays at center? Is that a must-do this offseason? Comment down below. What say you? Y for yes or N for no, and if the Panthers need to re-sign Cade Mays or not. All right, next up, DC Ejiro Evero. He's really becoming well-respected around the NFL as he continues to get head coach opportunities and head coach interviews this cycle. And now he has his second head coaching interview with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, what's interesting about this is while the Raiders haven't interviewed a ton of people formally yet, especially the second time, he's only one of 2 people who currently have a head coach interview scheduled for the second time with the Las Vegas Raiders. The only other guy is Jesse Minter of the DC, the LA Chargers, who has a second interview scheduled with Las Vegas. So clearly, they're making Evero here a pretty big priority in terms of their head coaching search. Now, is he going to get this job? I'm not 100% sure, but this is telling you that the Raiders view him as a serious head coaching candidate, and he's already got other deals lined up with teams around the league as well. The Atlanta Falcons were one, and they ended up hiring Kevin Stefanski, but still, he's got a Steelers interview out there as well. So Ejiro Evero, definitely well-respected. And if you don't remember, he had an interview back in 2025 to be the Raiders head coach before they hired Pete Carroll, and apparently, according to one of the Raiders insiders over at Sports Illustrated, they really liked Ejiro Evero and like what he's got going on, especially enough to bring him back for 2 more interviews this time around. Here's what Hondo Carpenter had to say on Evero back in 2025. Well, he said it recently, but on the 2025 interview. He said, "The Raiders really liked him, and he was impressive. I told you last year, and I'm telling you now, this young man is going to be a head coach in this league, and I think he's got some star power. If I'm the Raiders, though, I'm not looking for a first-year head coach. It's too big of a job, but I think that is the direction the Raiders are going." So it seems like he has some big fans in that Las Vegas Raiders building. Now, it's probably not Tom Brady, considering he kind of joined the Brain Trust this past season, and he got the head coaching opportunity and interview before the 2025 campaign as well. So he's got to have some sort of fan there in the front office, somebody who respects him, and somebody who could legitimately view him as the next leader of their franchise as the head coach. So Ejiro Evero, very well respected around the NFL. I wonder, though, if the Raiders end up maybe looking at a different defensive candidate. They've already looked at Jesse Minter. They looked at Evero, but another defensive candidate just hit the board here, and that's Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills. Panther fans know him pretty well as the former defensive coordinator down in Carolina. Could they go after him? A franchise stabilizer here, somebody who brought the Bills out of their cursed playoff drought and had them winning at a 70% rate over the last 9 seasons. I would anticipate that being a more likely hire than a guy like Ejiro Evero, but the fact that he's been in the building twice now in 2 years is certainly something to note. Now, Carpenter also did mention that he says the Raiders will go, and his inclination is that the Raiders would go after an offensive head coach, so Panthers fans could breathe a little bit if you're somebody who wants Ejiro Evero back in that DC spot, and it would make sense for them to go after an offensive head coach, given that they have Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, and the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, which is in all likelihood going to be selecting Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback who just won the national championship on Monday night. Now, ideally, if you're the Raiders, you'd probably want to put him in the best situation possible, and that would probably include signing and hiring a offensively minded head coach. Now, the Raiders, out of their original 14 interviews they had scheduled, 9 of them were offensive minded. They haven't interviewed any offensive-minded head coaches a second time yet, just the 2 defensive guys. So maybe they're just getting all that stuff out of the way now, and they really want to boil it down to an offensive guy in the coming weeks. But Evero's in the mix, man, and that's the reality of the situation. Now, they're probably going to go with an offensive-minded head coach, and I think that Evero will end up being back in Carolina as the defensive coordinator. It was just extended last year. They would probably be ecstatic if he didn't get one of these jobs, but eventually he is going to get one. He already has a Steelers interview set up. And look, at the end of the day, could teams be viewing Evero as a respected individual, but just somebody who's going to fill the Rooney Rule for them too. I'm sure that's probably the case somewhere. It's a sad reality of the situation, but he's still getting looks, and he's got to look with one of the most storied franchises in football in the Pittsburgh Steelers. So clearly, smart football minds, tenured football minds think that Ejiro Evero can be a head coach. He will be at some point in his career. Carpenter is right. This guy will be a head coach. So I think Panther fans who are maybe upset with him as a defensive coordinator should probably be eating their words a little bit, considering how much interest there is around the league in a guy who took the 32nd ranked defense in 2024 all the way to a middle of the pack defense, 15th in the NFL in 2025. That's just my 2 cents on EE. With that being said, what's your take? Rate him as a defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. I know it's a very divisive split on Ejiro Evero for Panthers fans out there, so rate him down in the comments section. 1 being he stinks, absolute worst, fire him. 100 being this guy should get a head coaching job. The Panthers are very lucky to have him as defensive coordinator. Scale for me down in the comment section what you guys think. And as always, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/Panthers Today for the latest and greatest on your Panthers all offseason long. We'll see you guys next video. And as always, keep pounding.